Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review of Expert Witness by Rachel Dillon. But before I get started, I'm going to let you all know that if my voice sounds kind of different than what it normally does because I'm not feeling well. So with that out of the way, let's get into this amazing book review because this book was really good a long time ago, but it wasn't really sticking with me, so I didn't, so I just stopped. And I read other books and stuff like that, but then I was just on my phone and I clicked on the Kindle app and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give this another try. And I'm like, okay, dang it, now I gotta remember everything that happened. And it was kind of hard to follow with the names and all that because, I'd read a bunch of books between then and now. But I'm not even joking, I read all the way from chapter 6 all the way to the last chapter, which is chapter 14, in one day. So, this book was really, really good. I actually forgot it was by, I forgot that the book was by Rachel Dillon, because it didn't, I thought it was because all of her books that I've read, they were about this woman who works in law or does something with law. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lawyer. She just works in law in some aspect of it, and for some reason she's targeted, and this private investigator or an FBI agent or a cop comes and, takes it upon himself to protect her and figure out what the heck's going on. But for some reason, this book was just as good, or if not better, than The Deadly Proof, which you all have seen me rave about on my social media accounts. So, anyway, I'm going to tell you all the synopsis for it, and then I'll tell you all my thoughts about the book. Dangerous testimony. Minutes after testifying in a murder trial, sketch artist Sydney Berry is almost killed in a drive-by shooting. United States Marshal Max Preston saves her life, then whisks her away to safety. Walked away from God when he was a teenager, because his parents were kind of showing off. They were the showing off kind of people where, like, if, when they go to church, they would show off and be like the perfect Christians, and be like the perfect family. But then, of course, they'd go home and their family would be fighting and not be great Christians, not be great parents to their only son. So at the age of 18, he walked away. But then he loved the Bible stories and going to church and all that, but his parents are what kind of ruined his faith in him because, he was a kid. And it kind of set it into him at a young age. And then he just kind of walked away from God, especially after what happened with the attack while he was at war. He really, was like, why would God let these things happen to these people who didn't deserve this? And he was, really, he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, basically. And it was, really sad, to read him talking to, to Sydney and talking about all of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But Sydney has some baggage of her own. She, came from a loving home, a loving family. But they were, if I remember correctly, they died in a car accident. But I could be wrong about that. Like I said, chapters 1 through 6, don't really remember them. Church wasn't a thing when she was a kid. Her mom never took her to church. So, she knew about God, but she didn't believe. Like, in the book, she said that she was neutral back then. But then she ended up getting her job that she has currently in the book right now. And she started seeing this guy. I forget the guy's name, and I just finished this book 2 days ago. Oh my gosh. But anyway, she started seeing this guy, and, he was all nice and, sweet and all that, but then he was starting to turn to a jerk, being verbally abusive and, and like hitting her, literally hitting her so bad, until one day she decided enough was enough and she ran. He didn't like it. So she took self-defense classes and like beginner stuff, and then she went all the way up to like judo and like like black belt and stuff like that. She, in the 5th page, you see her beating some guy up. So, but oh my gosh, it was. I felt really bad for her because she was trying to fight off these memories and stuff like that from this guy who'd beaten her for so long. And then when she ran away, she found God, and she started going to church, and her faith is what pushed her to, pushed her to try to forgive the guy who hit her. But she told Max that, I know it's kind of wrong of me to not be able to do this, but I cannot forgive him. And I kind of like what Max said. He told her that, he said that the guy who hit her, he isn't asking for forgiveness, so you shouldn't give it to him. And I don't really remember what he said next, but it's like, yeah, because a guy like that, if a guy does that, he doesn't deserve forgiveness at all. There's no excusing what he did. But then, of course, I'm not talking about each individual character things, but that is just part of the story. The other part of the story is that these people, the East River Gang, keep having hitmen sent after her, and it's like blowing stuff up, and gunfire and drive-by shootings. It's like, oh my gosh, they can't get a break. But so, and then of course, Max gets shot once in the arm, pretty bad. But then they have the hitmen going after her because they don't want her to testify. And, of course, she does. But there was some resistance to it. And then of course she did. But Max had his best friend, and who was also an FBI agent, go undercover to get all buddy with Kevin Jones, the leader of the East River Gang. And Max and Sydney were raiding a block away from the bank that they were going to meet at. And Max and Sydney are kind of talking, and then Sydney just for some reason just kind of stops and stiffens and stares straight ahead, and he's like, "Wait, what's wrong?" And she said, "That's him." And he said, "Yeah, that's Kevin Jones." And then she said, "No, the person behind him." And he looks, and of course, Kevin Jones' right-hand man was the guy who hit Sydney all those years ago. And of course, Max is, kind of upset that, angered that the guy's there, because he saw her, physically, tighten and, tense up, and, it's start to have, a panic attack, almost, is what it seemed like in the book. But then it turns out that, she does testify. Spoiler alert. Probably should have said that before I said that. She does testify. And little does anyone know that Rick, the guy who hit her, has a personal revenge against her because she embarrassed him, apparently, by leaving him, and he wanted her to pay for that. So Rick asked Max's friend, Brian, who was undercover, and said that he wants him to do a favor, and he'd pay a lot of money to have this done. And Brian said, "What is it?" And Rick said, "I want you to kill Sydney." And oh my gosh. So East River Gang was going after her because they didn't want her to testify. She testifies, everything's good. They think everything is alright. But little does anybody know that Rick was then started calling the shots. And it was just bad. It was really bad. Guys, I cannot tell you how much I loved this book. I was gasping, crying, all that stuff. And now I did read this on my Kindle app on my phone. Like I said, I'm not feeling well, so but this was an amazing book. Again, Rachel Dillon did an amazing job on one of her books. Like I said, this is just as good, if not better, than The Deadly Proof. That's saying something because, again, you all saw all of our stories about the book and, and all that stuff, and this was just, oh my gosh. So, anyway, yeah, I would say I would give this book a 10 out of 10. And this book is completely clean. There's nothing, shown as a book. It's not gonna show anything. Gosh. It doesn't go into detail about anything that's, bad. The only thing that it does say is that he cursed. It doesn't actually say the cuss words. So that's good. But this book was 100% clean. And yeah, I would highly, highly recommend this book to anyone who loves Christian fiction books. Again, this book was just amazing. I will leave a link down in the description for both physical and Kindle books on Amazon if you all want to get this. The Kindle version was not that much, honestly. Okay, everybody, that is it for today's book review. Next week, I will also have another book review. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Please let me know what you thought in the comments down below. If you are going to read this book, you have read this book, let me know your thoughts about this and all that down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. I love talking about books with everyone. Bye, guys!